Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am one of your three hosts. I am Tisha Waddell. We've got Mr. Elmer Floyd and Mr. Ted Moan, and we are here today on the Up Zone where we make understanding politics simple. It is our goal, it is our mission, it is our aim, it is our pleasure, it is our joy to share with you what is happening in the city of Fayetteville, the county of Cumberland, the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, listen, you said three words when we talked. You said, today we are talking money, money.
Money.
That's
Money.
it. We're talking money. It is the most crucial time right now in not just our city, but in our state. It is budget time. And y'all know, like I know, this money is a little funny this year. It's a little bit funny. Some people are coming to get their coins back. And when they come to take their coins back, it is putting the whole system in a tailspin. And so let's start, Ted, with well, first, how are y'all doing? How you doing this morning?
Good, very good.
Well, I'm doing pretty good until we start talking about money that I got to give out. I was feeling pretty good.
I can relate. I can completely relate. I know the feeling. So Ted, let's talk. Let's start with the county because they have already approved their budget.
Um, no, they had their first budget meeting last
They
week.
presented their budget. They've not
R-
approved it yet.
Right,
Okay. So
and
let's talk about what we're looking at in terms of increases or, what we got coming from the county.
um, in their recommended budget was no ad valorem tax increase, but
Okay.
they for a single family home, a $74 tax increase on for the landfill. So going from like $56 to $130, which will hit on our tax bill this year. And I've got a chart that kind of explains this stuff. Let me get
Put
it
it on
pulled
up
up.
there, Ted. Put it on up there.
Okay, I just did. Let's see. Okay, so I was, listening to the budget meetings, and council members, were talking about the historic property tax increases. DJ Hare was asking to go, about 8 years back or something, and the different fee increases that hit our tax bill. So what this chart does, I have it color coded. On the far left is the ad valorem property tax and the fees, whether it be stormwater, solid waste, your vehicle, and the county solid waste. So 2013, say, would be the base year.
Okay.
And then in 2014, where you see yellow, that's where either a property tax or a fee, increase or a fee increase. So in 2014, there was a property tax, and that was when Chief Medlock, or it might be the guy after. Anyway, the chief, they asked for a bunch of additional police officers, forensic technicians, and some support staff for the police department. So there was a tax increase,
Mm-hmm.
and then for stormwater, it also went up like $6, and then solid waste went up only $2. And so as you go from 14, 15, 16, and those are calendar years, because like right now they're working on their 2023-2024 fiscal
Budget.
budget,
Mm-hmm.
but tax and fee increases, if it's in that budget, it actually will hit us this year. So 2013, 23.
Let
Yeah.
me ask you,
So
Ted, when we're looking at this, just so that we can that our audience interpret chart, where tax that 0.456, that's cents on every dollar or
it's
every hundred.
every $100, so it's 45.6 cents on every
Mhm.
$100,000 of valuation, and so that
Mhm.
would be $45.60 on every
So
on a
we're
hundred
looking
thousand dollars.
at potentially an increase of from 2013 to today. of about 9.1 cent on $100,000 increase if we look at it from 2013 to
45, 12.1 cents or $121
okay.
per house.
So let's first talk about
No, let us talk about really the county in fee for its solid waste or for its landfill, which Ted mentioned that it was went from $55 to
to
I think
potentially.
like $139.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In
That, yeah, underneath the Fayetteville, Cumberland residential flat fee increases tax, it's the bottom line. I have it on the far left in a light blue. So in 2013, it was $48 a year.
Mm-hmm.
2016, it increased by $8 to 56, and it's been flat ever since. And now this year, the county manager recommended it go from $56 to $130, and that's primarily, their operating costs, the
Mm-hmm.
landfill extension. Um, they're trying to increase the footprint of the landfill.
Okay.
And yeah, so that would be one, this year a $74 increase over what we paid last year on our property
Right.
tax. Right. So
50.
yeah, yeah, very close, very close. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Right.
Mr.
So
Floyd.
did you say, Ted, that was a fee?
it's a tax.
Okay, okay,
Well,
okay.
they call them fees, but it's on our property tax. Yeah.
Got
It,
And, but it's
yeah.
on the property tax bill that you're going to receive.
Yes.
Okay.
If the county commissioners agree with the $74 increase, because we all know in budget session, county managers, city managers make a recommended budget, and
Mm-hmm.
then all the sausage making starts. What they're going to accept, what they're not going to accept. So my chart here is the worst case scenario. Should
Okay.
the city council and the county commissioners all agree with their two managers, which we know is not going to happen. So again, I can only put in what I saw, on the budget meetings, what they talked about, and the type of increase. But
Mhm.
we know, we've talked about it, that 4.27 cents for the $97 million general obligation bond. Well, in their budget book last night, there's an additional 3.5 cent property tax increase, but I'm not sure what it's going to be used for because we haven't seen the budget. So in 1 year, that is a, let's see, increase of 7.75 cents on our tax.
Mm.
And so if each penny on our tax rate brings in right about $1.45 million, a 7.75 cent increase would generate just over $11 million. But
Mm.
I'm thinking city council is not going to accept a 7.75 cent tax
And-
increase,
right.
which yeah. So on the
So
right
just
of
looking at
this,
the chart on the right hand, when I'm looking at where it says increase, right?
yeah, that's
So but that's
that's
saying
the
that annually a house that costs $200,000, should all of this pass as is, they will see an increase on their tax bill of about $385.
yeah, I broke it down on another chart, but so in the top right where it says 200,000, 100,000, 50,000. That's the cumulative dollar increase from the base year of 2013. So that just, yeah. So in basically in 10 years or 9 years, or 200, if these rates go through, then yeah, $200,000 house will be paying $240 more just in ad valorem tax, $121 for $100,000 house, and what is that, $60.50. Now below that, it's not orange, but it's more like tan. That's the cumulative increase from 2013 for the various fees. So stormwater since 2013 has gone up $36 a year. Solid waste from 2013 has gone up $242 a year. The next one, vehicle, that's in flux. Um, they haven't really discussed it, but they mentioned it back in April 18th that they could go up to a total of $30 per vehicle, and $5 of that goes to the transit. $5 goes to the general fund for any purpose, but anything more than that has to only be used for street sidewalk repairs, resurfacing, new road, stuff like that. So
Okay.
that would not go to the general fund. That would go to development services. I believe that's the name of the department.
Mhm.
And if they do go up $20 per vehicle, that would generate roughly 2.5 to $2.6 million annually, for engineering, infrastructure, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So below, and now you notice those are flat fees, so it's
Right.
exactly the same no matter what your house is worth, and that's why they call it a regressive tax, because it hits if you own you know $1 million house, you're paying the same basic flat fees
As
as a
somebody who
person
owns
with.
a $50,000 house. Right.
Mhm. Right. So down there, then in the red, that's the cumulative increases of all the fees and property tax from 2030, across, and then the
Mhm.
green is the fees. So out of that
Got it.
$27, 380 fee, 85 of it is the fees, the taxes,
So
the flat.
so more than half of what a person sees on their tax bill actually fees, which takes us back to what Mr. always says about a fee, really, because it's a way to skirt the verbiage of a politician saying, we didn't increase your taxes. Okay, you didn't increase my tax rate, but you did increase my taxes because the fees come on my tax bill. So when I'm
Right.
getting that bill, every year and I'm looking at it, I'm not saying, oh, this is great. They didn't increase my taxes. I'm looking and I'm saying, my taxes went up because my bill is higher. My tax bill is higher.
Right. And in the budget, the only one I have listed under fees to vehicle, it's actually
Mhm.
tax. So when you do your taxes and tags together, every year, that's where you're right. So if you have one house and it goes up to 30, then there'll be a $30 tax on your tax bill for your vehicle. If you
Right.
have three or four vehicles, you
That's
know,
30 per vehicle.
right, right,
Per
right,
vehicle. Right.
right.
And
I
and
have.
and and
Go ahead.
the biggest concern, I think, goes back to what you said about regressive taxation. And a lot of people often say, this car is paid for. I paid taxes when I got the car, and I'm still paying taxes, and it's paid. And it's confusing for a lot of people. There's not many other things besides a house and a car that you can have already paid for, pay taxes once, but you're still continuing to pay taxes on.
Mm-hmm.
This is talk regressive. This hit because if you've got $30 is $30, whether or whether it's a
Right. Now, on your vehicle tax bill, in addition to this local vehicle tax, it shows up with the county tax and the city tax based on whatever the tax rate is that you remit to the state of North Carolina. So on that part, it is value of your vehicle, but the vehicle tax, the $5 all the way up to $3, a flat fee, like you were just saying. So let me unshare this and open up another one.
Mr. Floyd, you got anything you want to add to that part?
No, I'm just concerned that as we go into the fiscal year 24, that we are going to get our tax bill September 1. That's when the county mailed out our tax bill. And we have until December, I think it's the 31st, to have the taxes paid based upon whatever is in these scrambled eggs. And so,
right.
People, it's going to have a short window in order to prepare to make these adjustments, and somewhere in the neighborhood like 3 months. In order
and then you're going to have a new council come in November, December, and they're going to go through this process again in June, and there may be more increases based on this GL bond. Would that be?
Yeah, and the in 2025, that's when the sales tax agreement hits full force. So July 1st of 2025, that's where they lose several $1 million, close to $10 million. So it looks like the city manager, he's a strategic thinker, and so by tax increases, you start to build a cushion for the general fund, undesignated, or to prepare for what's going to happen beginning
in 2025.
July 2025. So
okay.
This next slide that I have up, it came from the bottom right of the other slide. And so if this is, again, worst case scenario, if the county and the city council all agree, or a majority agree with what the two managers are proposing on a $200,000 house this year, when that, your property tax is going to see a $309 increase, minus the vehicle. So I forgot to take the vehicle out of that. Or your escrow, basically, $25 a month more, $100,000, $19 more, and a $50,000 house, $16 more a month. So, but again, I don't believe this current city council is going to accept all the recommendations from the city manager, just like you and I didn't when we were on council. There was negotiations back and so it'll be interesting. And tonight, I did see the public notice in the Lafayette room at 5 o'clock. They're actually going to have their first budget meeting. Well, I should say first budget meeting with the actual city manager's proposed budget. Now, what concerns me a little bit is they've been asking for a CIP for months, even back in their April meeting. And when you and I were on council, we always started off the budget with a CIP, a capital improvement plan, and the ITP, information technology plan, and it was a 5-year plan. And those CIPs and ITPs, they get tweaked every budget year because things fall off, or things cost more or less than projected.
Right.
And What I was told is that when they received their budget books yesterday, their initial budget books like you and I used to get,
Mm-hmm.
there is no CIP in there. So uh, I'm not sure. Hopefully that'll be included in a final
Their
book that,
presentation.
yeah, the
Hopefully they'll
presentation.
get that in their presentation tonight because it's hard to make a decision about that.
Right. And if I went to last year's budget and, it has a CIP, um, and all the projects, and they have it, how they two ways, how it's planned out over 5 years and what historically has been put in that fund, for different projects.
Right.
And then they have another one, CIP by funding source. And
Mm-hmm.
we all know they got over $40 million from ARPA. And in last year's CIP, there were several line items that said ARPA funding. And
Mm-hmm.
and so with the ARPA funding, it sometimes it paid off for whatever they were doing, and other
Mm-hmm.
times it helped accelerate. Like we know we have a street resurfacing plan, and
Right.
they goes out multiple years, and I know some ARPA money was put in that. Geo bond, yeah, with the geo bond, same thing. There's money in there for street resurfacing. But I will let me stop sharing this.
So basically,
Stop.
people really need to be paying attention. I mean, there's no way we can. People really need to be paying attention to this budget conversation because it is going. And we say this all the time as municipally elected officials. What happens at your city council affects you rapidly financially. The
Hmm.
made in the budget at the city council will hit your pocket this year. It won't be years from now. They pocket this year. So you need to pay attention to that. And if you are not paying attention to that, most certainly believe when you get your bill for your taxes or you get your mortgage statement, you're going to see, going to feel immediately. Once the budget is passed, a few months, you're going to feel that in your going on, and know that you have a voice in this. That is the reason that every district has a council member. This is why we don't want to change the structure of the council so that every community can be adequately represented. For instance, what that is, this you should be reaching out to your city council member and telling them how you feel. If you're for them, you should be letting them know that they have your support. If you are not for them, you should be calling them and telling them why. Expectations. See the vote move forward. They are moving according to the information that you're giving them. They said that should still be in effect. To be communicating with your representative. And I'll say this, before my representative was elected, I had all of my books still, my budget books, and I was cleaning out my garage and I was getting rid of that crap because I knew I didn't want it. I wasn't going back. And I put up a Facebook post. I said, anybody running for office, if you come get them. I got them. There's no excuse. Budgets are concerned. And look, city council members, you can go back and look online and see historical budget books. They are on the city's website. Y'all need council members think how you feel, how you believe. Because if you up like we when it would be lunch and you don't throw a fit. So that's 2 cents about that. Go ahead, Ted and Mr. Floyd.
Right. So this chart I have up, I really like it that city staff did, and they presented this back in the April budget. Moving forward, and this is on the sales tax, and you've got the red and the blue lines going up and down, and the blue was under the current, the former agreement, and you know, and so it shows that they were pretty close. What they projected, and so that white line going through the on the left through the blue and red, that's up till this year, because starting July 1st, um, and it's basically 2 years there. The county is no longer going to remit to the city the growth from the base year. There was a agreement, that the city would get 50%, I think, or of the growth, each year, from I think it was 2017 or 18, whatever the last agreement. And so starting this year, for the next 2 years, the blue lines are slightly below the red lines, showing that they're going to get less sales tax than they have in the previous years. And then when you see the very, very big difference between the blue and the red, that's starting July 2025. And if the blue is what the city's staff is projecting under the new agreement, and the red is what the old agreement, how much they would have. So it shows they almost $10 million less every year from the new agreement to the old agreement. So this is why I think city manager is trying to do this bridge, with all these fees and taxes, this year and next year. And I mean, so this is going to haunt the city council and city staff for not just this year. I mean, but you're looking at the next 2 or 3 or 4 budget years that they really have to figure out how to replace income or revenues from the sales tax. So I'll get rid of this. So I think this chart has a lot to do with all the fee increases and tax increases,
Absolutely.
else. And
Absolutely.
we could thank the county commissioners for this, because they said, no, we're going to ad valorem. They knew it was going to hurt the county, all municipalities. At the same time, they want to build $131 million event center by the courthouse, and they need money to pay for that. And so they plan on using, I think we talked about it last week, the 1% food and beverage tax, and the hotel occupancy, a portion of that, to fund the event center. And that way, this additional income that they're getting through sales tax can be redistributed to other departments in the county versus, it's a bait and switch. Hey, we're going to ad valorem. We're going to keep using the the revenues from the food and beverage and stuff. So so this is the crux of what the city council and county.
They're trying to be responsive to the county's action. Let me tell you, my only variation with what you're saying, Ted, is the city knew this was coming for a long time. So this should have been a part of the strategic planning all along. And I think that this is where we get into trouble. When we saw, and I remember sitting in a strategic planning, and Deb Manzo was facilitating, and she was asking the council, I need you to tell me what your priority is. And every time something else went up on the board, there were certain members of council who would say, that's a priority, but you can't have 10 priorities.
No.
Because when you have 10 priorities, you have no priorities. A priority is your number one important thing. And if we have been knowing for all this time that we were going to lose this much revenue, then that should have been something that the city manager consistently put before the council. I think here's what happens, Ted. And Mr. Floyd, you correct me if y'all think I'm wrong. I believe that what happens is because the city manager and the city attorney are essentially employees of the council, it sometimes prevents them from doing their best work because they have to be concerned about losing their job if they are honest and upfront and tell the council, this is not a good move, or you need to do XYZ in order to be proactive in how you are looking at your long range planning. We should be able to rely on a city manager to give straight up information, to provide context about how certain things are going to affect us long range, and then to really continue to put that in front of us as we are going about the business of making decisions on behalf of the city. But sometimes that's not happening because it may happen in those mayor pro tem meetings. I don't know, because I was told I couldn't come to any more of them. But I don't know if that's what's happening in those meetings. But it is most certainly not happening with the full council. And if the mayor and the mayor pro tem are getting that information, it's most certainly not being brought back to the full council, not during the 4 years that I was there, because that's why you see this. Because from the time I came on council, we were being told the county is threatening to change this model. We were trying to negotiate. There was never a successful negotiation, which should have let us know this is inevitably going to happen.
Yeah.
So our lack of preparation as a council is what has placed us in a position where we see this blue shrinking, and now we see the city manager scrambling to try and put something on the table that makes up for this shrinking blue line, when in all actuality, all along, we could have been being very realistic about how we were handling our money, so that when we got to this point, we didn't feel this. And my concern is, Ted, that because many of the same people are still in place, still will not adequately address where we're going, and we're going to still end up in a financial predicament. That is my concern. Mr. Floyd, you've been very quiet. Do you have anything that you want to add to this conversation before we go to break and then move into talking about what's happening at the state level?
I just think that from a standpoint of view, the county, as its waste management, looked at increasing the fee over 50%. Then his projection is that it would generate $7.1 million going forward. And remember now, going forward. So do we need to have the $7.1 million this year? When he said future. So, I think that that's something that the county board of commissioners need to look at. Do we need to get the $74 increase, or something less to lessen the burden on the taxpayer? As it relates to the city and the city staff, the finance department can and should provide the city neutral and apart from manager, which although he employed, is to give a revenue projection about what is and what is not, so in that the city can look at how best to move forward with budget appropriation. Now, when you look at these taxes that they are going to provide, it is going to hit the person, as you mentioned, by September, which going to have to be paid by December, the end of December. So our citizens need to prepare themselves for a great increases in the amount of taxes, not fees, that they're going to pay in this physical year. So it should be that revenue projection showing that they can look at what they can do and what they cannot do as they move forward with the 24 budget year.
Well, let's take a pause. Let's come back and talk about what's happening. Is going for money. So we'll be right back and be talking state level.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a real estate agent who knows the Fayetteville community inside and out? Look no further, as your hometown girl, LaTanya, has extensive experience of our area and experience in its real estate market. LaTanya delivers results. At LMR Realty Group, we all understand that buying or selling a home can be a stressful experience. When you partner with us, you control the decisions while LMR Realty Group guides the process, and together we'll work from contract to close with ease. Whether you're a first-time buyer, downsizing, or expanding your investment portfolio, LMR Realty Group has got you covered. As a bonus, if you call and go under contract by March 31st, LMR Realty Group can cover up to $400 for a home warranty on a resale property with all appliances included. Some exclusions apply. Don't wait. Call 910-574-8225 or visit ELLIMARRealtyGroup.com to get you started. Let's make your dream home a reality with LMR Realty Group.
To the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your three hosts. We've got Mr. Elmer Floyd and we've got Mr. Ted Moan, and we are talking money, 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 money. We are talking about the city budget, the county budget, and now let's talk about what the state intends to do to do. Can I just tell y'all what I see in my head when we talk about this? Y'all ever seen those people in those glass cases and the money starts shooting up around them and they have to do this to try to catch as much money as possible?
Yep,
That's
yep.
what this feels like to me. It just feels like the ultimate money grab. So, what are they talking about statewide to be able to get more money, Mr. Floyd?
Let me share with you, if I may, first, Chief. And that is one of our biggest economic engines in the state of North Carolina is our military community.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, Fort Bragg will change from Fort Bragg and become Fort Liberty. So I just wanted to say that to the public. It starts tomorrow, changes its name from Fort Bragg to Fort Liberty. Now we have 7 military bases again, which is about the third economic engine in North Carolina. So the state of North Carolina, Tisha, if you all mentioned and know well, is that they are looking at again how can we generate additional revenue because we want to lower corporate taxes to zero and then also individual withholding taxes. So you got to find out ways, just like the city and the county. How do we supplement? How do we get this additional money? Do we lower things there? So the state now is looking at. I hate to say it, Tisha, uh, gambling, whether we know it or not. I mean, when you look at next door, Virginia is going to open 3 casinos, one in about the Triad, one in Norfolk, and one in Portsmouth. So the state is looking at, do we want our resident, our citizen, to go across the line and give that contribution a love offering to those, I mean, to that state. So the state is looking at sports betting, they're looking at video poker, and they're looking at opening 3 additional casinos. And that's all, Teach, is to generate additional revenue that people are going to spend, not whether you like gambling or not, but how can they generate money off of these sports betting because people are going to board bet on sports anyway. So they're
Hmm.
just looking at how can we manage it, how can we get additional revenue, and then we have what they call the Compassion Act as it relates to medical marijuana. That's for patients that have chronic, pain as they go through various medical procedures. So, you know, that too is a way to generate money. People, and I don't know about in your community. You and Ted live in very nice communities. In our community, we have unlicensed drugstores just about every block, and so we're not generating any money from that. And we have video poker machine that the sheriff say that is just about unenforceable in
Hmm.
order to, and there's about 100,000 of those in the state. And so, the sheriff, well, some of them just have 3 video poker machines. So,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth taking my officers off to go and monitor video poker where you have three machines, although you have a line of people waiting to play those machines, you know. And so, is it good, Tish, or is it bad? Any of these things is not setting up so in that the state can lose money when the
Oh,
state
not at
look at
all. Not at all.
so I just want to share this with you before you walk in the door. It's not designed so in that Las Vegas can lose money, if you understand what I mean.
Absolutely.
It's
So
not
let me,
designed.
Mr. Floyd, because I don't want to cut you off. I want to hear your whole thought.
No, I mean it's not designed so you play it at your own risk. And some people become addicted that they can win. It's just
Absolutely.
like I mean, it's just like playing the lottery. All numbers go into, I'm gonna use the word one machine, and Ted know about computers. And so you ask that same computer to generate a number from all the numbers that's in that machine. And that computer scramble those numbers in some kind of way, it misses all of them. you know,
Right.
if you understand what I mean.
Absolutely. I am not conservative when it comes to these types of things. Not because they adversely affect me directly, but because I know that everybody. And so, I was looking at some research, and one of the articles that I looked at came out of, so y'all know the Auburn EDU is their educational website. There was an article that talked about gambling, and one of the things that they highlighted was that a lot of legislators admit that they know that they are to become addicts, and that they are more concerned with the revenue generation than about the social problems that outweigh the benefits of these various gambling opportunities. And some of those problems are gambling leads to bankruptcy, it leads to crime, it leads to domestic abuse, and even suicide. And so one of the things that I think should most certainly be a consideration of legislators as they're doing the money grab is, are they going to be taking this money and then funneling into the prevention or the response to the issue that they're creating by the opportunity that they're going after? And so,
There would be
there's
some
a
there would be some money set aside to address the
won't be
issues that
enough.
we talked about.
It
I,
won't be
I,
enough.
we agree with that, but I'm responding to your question. There will be some money set aside for these persons who get hooked on the gambling.
Right.
But again, it's looking.
But I that our audience is very aware that, and I how to play spades in home with the family, but when I went to college, we played. And there's one
Mhm.
terminology that always comes up in a really, really good game, or in a really, really good dominoes game. From Texas knows it's the game. And that saying is, money ain't good money. And I think,
Hmm.
what that means is sometimes you set yourself up to make a play, cost you in the long. And I think that that's what our legislators should be very, and even if they're not going to be, I want our community, because what I know, one thing I know for certain, and two things I know for sure, is that bad policy has problems that on the road. It's not always right at the city. I believe we'll see it at the state level should this move forward, because this breeds more issues that you're going to have to put more money
I,
toward.
there's no one disagreeing with you on that. But what they are saying is you're gonna have people betting on sports anyway. So what you look at, how can we generate some of this revenue then for our state citizens to go across the line and give their money to Virginia or elsewhere in order to bet on sports. And so if we can have some control over that, at the same time generate some revenue. As an example, the sports bill. At least Fayetteville State and 10 other colleges will get $300,000 from this money to assist their sports program. And as it move forward into 2027, they will start getting a million plus. So and then the state would get 18% of the gross receipts. So I don't like it, but I have to look at, and as a former legislator, you have to look at how can you generate revenue from people who wants to volunteer to participate. Well, I wouldn't say, well, I use the word volunteer to participate in legalized gambling.
So where's the
So
line, Mr. Floyd? Where's the line? Because this is what I was thinking about as this conversation played in my head, because I know that that's the argument. So here's the counter to that, or here's a companion to that. People gonna smoke crack. So we might as well legalize crack. We might as well regulate the industry, because if we can do that, then we can gain revenue off of that. So where's the line? Where do we say as a society, this is not a risk that we want to expose our community to? There's got to be a better way for us to handle this. So where's
well,
that line?
you take one issue at a time. If that
Well,
issue
one
comes,
opens the door to the others. So where's
well,
the line?
but still you take one issue at a time. And like now it's marijuana, medical marijuana. Some say it's gonna open the door to legalizing marijuana as a social type
It
thing.
will,
But that
because
issue,
that's what has happened
that
everywhere
issue,
else.
okay, but that issue when it comes up, that's an
But
issue
why
that will
open
take
the
the
door?
time.
If you know that it leads to more social problems than
Okay,
solutions, why open the door? I'm gonna
that's
tell you why. Because all we're looking at is the dollar. We're
that's
looking at the
we
revenue
all know
generation.
that. We're
Yeah.
not disagreeing with we all know that, but we have to
Mhm.
look at how do I tax you, Tish? Just like the county said that I want to, and the city said if you got a car, and Ted mentioned that
I'd rather be
the guy
taxed.
next door,
I'd
uh,
rather be taxed. I'd
well,
rather be taxed. And
you
I'll
rather
be
be
honest with
taxed,
you. I'd rather
you
be
rather
taxed
be
because
taxed,
you
but
tax
other
me makes
people
me work. It doesn't make me fall into a
that's
hole that I potentially can't get out of.
that's see, some people agree with you, they'd rather be taxed, and some people say they rather for the cheerful giver to keep giving cheerfully.
Ted, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, more and more states are doing this. So hopefully our General Assembly will learn from other states, and some of the social programs, for the chronic gamblers, or 'cause, just like the lottery, they have money, for that. So I did listen to the Senate Committee Finance yesterday, and there were a couple people who, from the public, who spoke, that raised basically the same concerns that you're raising, Tisha. And then, of course, the sponsors of the bill defended the bill, talking about people are already doing it, they're going to other states.
I
Yeah,
love I love
I mean,
that mindset for them. Oh, it's already
yeah,
happening.
yeah. And
Why let
so,
the problem go somewhere else? Bring it
yeah,
here.
yeah. And
It's
so,
happening all over the country too. You got 39 states that have some
That
form
doesn't,
of
Mr. Floyd,
legalized.
that doesn't negate the stupidity of the argument, though.
yeah,
If you got people who are going to give cheerfully
Yeah,
under
but
the
that's
assumption that
but
they
then
are
what
going
we're
to
saying
win,
is, but
let
then
them
what we're
give.
saying is, as educated elected and as people who are dealing with the issues that come from this all, we are willing to say this is more beneficial to us than finding to support well-being of our community. I can't speak for nobody else. This is going to move forward because I know the culture we live in. That's and I
When I was a little boy, we had numbers. When I was a little boy, we
yeah,
had numbers. Okay.
absolutely.
Now this went to a lady house that was the number keeper and the number writer.
Right.
Okay. So this was back in the I'm not gonna say the year, but it was done then. And so
But
it's
when you're
just
the
being
kid
utilized.
whose parents have gambled away your food money, and so you're facing eviction, or when you're the wife whose husband has such an addiction that you're affected, everybody, or when you are the neighbor who lives in the neighborhood where people's are losing their homes and for and now it's becoming an Airbnb community because our neighbors and take gambling. When you are affected by the negativity of this, and when you are the people who are really not seeing the benefit of the revenue that's being generated, because that, let's face it, the generates revenue. It is not enough to cover the social ills that are created by the lottery. So when you are dealing with the social ills, you really don't care what they're talking about up at the state level that says this is supposed to be so good for us, because you are living with the reality that it is not. And like you said, Mr. Floyd, it's us, and not us black folk. It's us poor people. It's not the rich people that's going off to the casino losing their shirts. It's the poor people who are going off and losing their weekly wages, hoping that they'll hit big,
Teach,
and then they're
teach, have
coming
you
back
went,
home depressed
have
because
you
they
visit,
didn't.
Teach, have you visit the Cumberland County Courthouse?
Mr.
Have you
Floyd,
visit
you
the,
actually, yes.
have you,
It's us.
do you see who
It's
was in the
us.
Cumberland County Courthouse?
Right, which is why, and I want to be very clear about this, which is why, and I always make sure I tell y'all what I will and will not support. And I do that because I know that there are people who listen to me and who get it. I will not support any legislator that supports bringing that into North Carolina at a more aggressive rate than is already here. I will not support any legislator who votes for medical marijuana that will open the door to other opportunities. And listen, and I'm not saying that there's not a place for it. I'm just saying we don't have legislators who really care about the well-being of the people. They care about the dollar.
Okay,
So when they're
I,
making these,
I get it. I'm gonna find some taxes for you to pay.
some who
Taxes.
tax me, tax me, because at
I'm
this
gonna
point,
find some taxes to
what
increase
I
your
tell y'all this all the time. I don't believe in the system the way it stands. And so I don't think any good can come from that. I just don't see the good coming from it. But I know it's going to move forward. I know it's going to be cheered for. There're going to be people who are very excited about it. But I just stand here as the lonely little voice on the hill that says, watch out, because in a few years this gonna bite us. And y'all will hear me when it happens. It's gonna bite us.
the speaker want to group all these gambling bills as an example into one bill. And so that there may be some discussion. Do we group all of them,
They're
or
gonna keep
do
it
we,
separate.
do we keep them separate? They keep now so each one can pass separately. So you
But y'all
might
saw that article. We're talking about money, 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 money. Y'all saw the article in the News and Observer that spoke about how, and the speaker's name was mentioned also, how the gambling machines, they were making contributions to people's campaign that it now looks like are being under review because they bypassed the legal authority that they were supposed to fall under in order to be making these contributions. So and then let me not say bypass. They were creative in how they get creative, air quotes, in how they gave to bypass the scrutiny of who they were given to and how they were giving, because they should have registered as a PAC, right? But we saw, at least that's what the article said, but they bypassed that by staying right under the radar so that they wouldn't have to register as a PAC. But that raises the question, why would they do that, right?
yeah, they can give to teach an individual can give 50. I think it's $5,600. You know, a pack can give $5,600. So one hand washes the other.
Well, Ted, what you got? What you want to add to this? Because I look.
I'm just
While
saying.
yeah, while you guys were talking, I'm looking at the sports wagering, horse racing, bill.
Okay.
347, and it looks like out of our local delegation, Diane Wheatley voted no, and then Mr. Lucas, he's still not in the General Assembly, so he had an excused vote. And then on the Senate side, uh, we had uh, Senator Applewhite voted yes yesterday, as did Senator McGinnis. And on the House side, I couldn't see Representative Smith, his name anywhere in here. So maybe they just left him off. But So it looks
Did,
like
did he have an excused absent?
no, that's what I'm looking at. I just don't see his name at all.
And if
Um,
you don't see his name, that means that on that vote they walked out. Then
yeah, because they have excused absences and excused votes, and I don't see. I see Mr. Lucas as excused absence,
okay.
along with three others. But for Charles Smith, because
What
they
about
always,
Jackson?
yeah, they always do it alphabetically. I don't see his name under the no vote or the the yes vote. I don't see
Okay. What
Charles
about
Smith.
Representative Jackson?
Yes, Francis Jackson was a yes.
Okay.
Um,
So that
Diane
means
Wheat, yeah, Diane Wheatley was a no.
mhm.
Marvin Lucas had an excused absence, and I just don't see
That means
Representative
that
Smith.
he went to the restroom.
Okay, yeah, because there was only not voting was the chair. Um, Republicans had some absences, excused absence. An excused voter was Speaker Moore, the House Speaker. He had an excused vote. So yeah, so I can only see about half of our
And
represent
which bill was that?
uh
Three
347,
347.
and I mean because it passed the House back at the end of March, and then it worked its way this week, through the Senate because
And
it started.
that was for the sports
Oh,
gambling or for the machines.
Now sports betting.
this was sports, and so today they have their third vote in the Senate, third, and it passed yesterday with the bipartisan support, and it was pretty split. A bunch of Republicans and a bunch of Democrats voted no, and a bunch both voted yes.
But it was
So
38-10, Ted. That means that 8 Democrats voted in support of the legislations, you see. And that means 12 of them possibly voted against the bill, the bill itself. But
right,
again, the Senate bill made some changes, and they're gonna send it back over to the House. What the House is saying now, let's concur with the Senate changes than to go through a scrambled egg process, so we can get it over to the governor. And the governor has indicated that he may. Well, I don't think he have a problem with the.
no, he'll probably just not sign it because there's enough Democrats and Republicans that voted yes. So there's going to be no veto. He would waste his time doing a veto.
So Tish, uh,
Yeah.
any suggestions that you have, Tish? How we can get
I will always leave our community with pray for your leaders, because I think that this demonstrates a real lack of like a lack of wisdom. And I will just always say pray for our leaders. I will always say that it's easy to, and I love how you tell us, Mr. Floyd, that there's so much good in the, I love that phrase, and I want to make sure you say that today, because I think that that's always such a good reminder. Because even as I sit here and I'm staunchly in opposition to this, I recognize that there have been decisions. And I found myself the other day driving in my car, and I was repenting, asking God to forgive me for some of the votes that I took. Because I think that there are things, again, that we set in motion that we don't realize how they ultimately end up. But there's two paths. There's a path that leads people toward good, and there's a path that leads people toward death, or a path toward God and a path toward death. And I just don't ever want to be responsible for leading not one person, let alone hundreds or thousands or millions of people toward death. So I just, my thing is, y'all pray for your leaders. Pray for your
Mhm.
leaders.
and Tish? There's so much good in the
In
best
the
of us.
yep, and so
So
much
much
bad in
good
the yep, that it
that
behooves none of
yeah,
us.
not the rest of us. So I
Yep.
enjoyed you today, Tish.
Yeah, I always
And
look.
I hope we remain friends.
You are Mr. Floyd. I think you teach me so much, and let me say that again, because I used all the time. I learn so much from sitting with you guys and listening to you that it really makes me a more, and I hope our listeners do too. It makes me more capable of making good decisions in regards to who my legislators are and how I view the work they're doing. So I am very appreciative, not only for this platform, but for the fact that I share it with the two of you. Ted, you will always be the data guru. I love the way you bring the numbers to the table. Mr. Floyd, I love your experience and your intellect and your ability to be able to craft a conversation and to raise points and get people thinking without pointing fingers and poking jabs. I love that. And so for me to be able to be here with the two of you makes me a better Tisha. And for that, I'm grateful. Ted, you get the closing words today.
Um, it's always fun working with the both of you, learning from the both of you. Tonight, 5 o'clock city budget work session. We should see a budget in later tonight or tomorrow. Oh, recommended budget. So that's what I'll be doing. Um, I'll be watching that at 5 o'clock tonight.
All right. And we want to make sure that people like, subscribe, and share. We are on YouTube. Y'all, we have some advertisements running on WFNC, running during Goldie's program, Good Morning Fayetteville. So look, we are trying to make sure that you guys know we're here so that you can tap in and stay connected. Don't listen. Don't be deceived and don't be discouraged. This is as it should be, y'all. It is as it should be. Mr. Floyd, you rock. Ted, so do you. And until next week, deuces.